Oh, wow. It went live real fast. Caught me by surprise. All right, let me move this over here so that I can actually look at it while I talk. So yeah, things have been going pretty well. Angular Dev Summit was a success this last week. Funny story. I was going to record yesterday, but I totally spaced. I was going to record this morning. I was actually up at 3:30 this morning because I woke up and I couldn't go back to sleep. I just forgot. Anyway, so I'm at it now, and yeah, just going to jump in, talk about some of the stuff. Some of the big things is last week, Angular Dev Summit went really well. Added about 700 people to my mailing list, which the total number of people on the mailing list is about 13,000. So 700 is roughly 5%. But if you look at the number of people who are on the list specifically for Angular, that number is closer to 2,500. So I had a 33% increase. Wow. Sneeze live. Anyway, I'm going to do it again here in a second. There we go. That's what you get for a live show. Couldn't help it. Anyway, so went really well. I'm really curious to see how it goes. The Ruby portion of my list is, I think, about 4,000 people. And so, if I have the same kind of turnout, then I'll probably add about 1,200 or so people to the list. Now, I'm just going to throw out raw numbers and just see where things kind of wind up there. I did tell the speakers I was going to give them half the money for all access passes. And total for signups for that came out to about $3,200. So I put in a ton of work. And if all I get to keep is $1,600, then it's probably not worth doing again. I'm going to do the Ruby Dev Summit. We're going to see how that goes. And then we may pull it around from there. I keep thinking, too, that there's got to be a way to get sponsors onto this, but I just haven't been able to get anybody to take a chance on it. I think part of the problem, too, though, was that in the past, the biggest the biggest conference I've had 150 people sign up for it, or 120 people. I think it was 120 or 130 people sign up for it. So that being said, I may be able to actually use some social proof here and say, look, we had 770 people or so sign up that weren't speakers or all access pass holders. Anyway, the way that comes out, and just see if anybody wants to sponsor to reach 1,000 people at an online event. It also seems like there are companies that will sponsor online events, because I know that other companies have put them on. So anyway, if I can crack that nut, I'll probably keep doing them. If I can't, then I may not. So we'll just have to see how it goes. But Ruby Dev is on. I need to revisit React Remote Conference because it's scheduled for next month, and it's not going to happen next month. So I may reschedule for December, see if people want refunds, just kind of see how that goes. But yeah, anyway, so that's been kind of interesting. And then, yeah, still production issues. I think I'm going to do show notes a little bit differently. I know that some of the people who watch these videos are going to have opinions on that. But I think for show notes, what I'm going to do is I'm going to opt more for, here's the profile of our guest. Here's, in a nutshell, what we talked about. Here are some bullet points of some of the things that we went into depth on. And that'll be the show notes. And then take the money that I'm spending on somebody giving detailed show notes and instead just have them do a transcript. And that way people who want the transcript can have it, and the people who don't, Anyway, that's kind of an interesting idea that I'm having here. So anyway, those are some of the things that I'm really thinking about. But yeah, the big thing that I'm dealing with right now is just that I really feel like I need to have a plan. And I sit down to plan and I get derailed or sidetracked or, overwhelmed. And I just need to sit down and figure it out. So that's probably what I'm going to be doing today. I'm also chasing sponsorship stuff. I've got the CRM saga going on with sponsorships. It's just frustrating. So in the past, I used Highrise. And by used, I mean I didn't really use it well. So I tried Salesforce because I could try it for free, right? Because I'm small fish, and it didn't work. It had way too many things going on and just didn't really fit my needs. So I gave up on it. I tried a couple of others. I tried Contactually. It really didn't meet my needs either. Contactually is kind of a pain in the butt because it connects to your Gmail account and imports everything. And then, anyway, so I had contacts in my CRM for my neighbors, which was really stupid. And their workflows, you have to go to like 3 or 4 different places to make a workflow work. And that's garbage for me. That, I want to go to 1, maybe 2 places, and that's it. And by 1, maybe 2, what I mean is I want kind of an overall view, and then I want like a contact or company view, and then I want the automation place, and that's it. That's really all I want. And then the automation is when you move somebody to this level, set these things up or do these things or, reach out to them in these ways or something. So, as they progress through the sales pipeline, it just does the right things or tells me to do the right things. And if they get stuck in one place in the sales pipeline, it just automatically has me follow up. And I haven't really found anything that does that well. I've been so tempted to build one, but I don't know if I really want to get into the CRM mess, because what winds up happening, and I know this is the case for CRMs, that, and if you're not familiar, CRM is a customer relation manager. So, you put all your contacts in it and stuff. It needs to integrate with my email so that I can, if I get an email from them, it just drops it in there. But the other issue is just, anyway, so I've got some things going on. I'm actually very seriously considering, like, after this call, seriously, setting up a separate email account for just sponsorship stuff, and then just moving all of the emails and stuff that people send me over there. And that way I can just work through the sponsorship stuff. The other thing is that then I can bring in a sponsorship manager person, and they can manage the CRM part of it and then the project part of it. The project part of it is delivering the sponsorship once they pay for it. So getting the banners, getting the talking points, recording, all that stuff. Now, I have to record the ads, but, other than that, and doing some of the sales calls, depending on who I get and what they're comfortable doing, I mean, I shouldn't have to do any of the rest of it. They should be able to do the follow-up. They should be able to check in. They should be able to answer questions. They should be able to, especially once somebody's paid for a sponsorship, they just want delivery, right? They don't care if they're hearing from me or somebody else, as long as they're getting what they paid for. They're getting the exposures. They're getting people to sign up. They're getting people on their mailing list, whatever it is that a conversion means to them. So that end, I definitely can, I can hand it off to somebody else. And so, yeah, I'm thinking about just setting that up for, a sponsorship email address at devchat.tv, and then just having, a sponsorship management team work that. So anyway, we'll see how it goes. I'm also just looking at the way that I talked a minute ago about the show notes. I'm also thinking about revamping the way that I do that a little bit. So right now, so I went from a Trello-like setup, so it would move the episode from one stage to the next. But there are a lot of things that have to happen on some of those stages, like editing. It's editing, right? You take out all the stuff that has to come out. You put the sponsorships in, add music, done. Yay. But, and show notes is kind of the same thing, right? You write the show notes, you put it on the website, you put it on the RSS feed, you're done. And all of those are schedulable, so you can do it a week beforehand, which is what I want. And then, it'll get released at the right time. The issue comes in with the promotion and with the pre-production, because there are several steps to that. And I don't want a Trello board with 20,000 stages to it. And so what I'm looking at there is I'm looking at setting things up so that you get, and maybe I should just break that out so that it's essentially pre-production, production. So that's editing and then show notes and posting to the website. So maybe that one has 3 subtasks, because I moved it over to a system that now the episode shows up and it creates a whole list of subtasks. But I should probably just break that up so that there's a full-on task for each stage, so that my show notes person who writes the show notes theoretically would also then do the transcript, and then post to the website and the RSS feed. They just get all of those, so they just check off the subtasks there and they're done, right? Or they can just check off the entire task when they're done, and we can see how that goes. So I'm kind of leaning toward that a little bit. But anyway, yeah, so just figuring some of that stuff out. And then, the post-production is reaching out to the guest. Hey, you were on the show. Here's the link. Please share it. Posting it to Twitter and DZone and all the other places that it needs to go to. Reddit, so it lists some subreddits that could be posted to, etc. And anyway, so all this magic happens, and I can automate some of that, but I can't automate all of that. So those are some of the things that I'm just kind of fiddling with. But yeah, so if I can get all of that together and just make it work, then that would be awesome. And then, yeah, I mean, like I said, a lot of the follow-up with people, I can set up 4, 5, 6 follow-up templates in a CRM, and then have somebody just, on a weekly basis, so if they haven't gotten back to us on sponsorships, send them hey, I don't know if you've had a chance to look at the sponsorship prospectus. Here's kind of how we see sponsorships working, and then another email is, hey, maybe you don't want ads on a podcast. Maybe you're more interested in like a YouTube demo or something like that. And so we can talk about different ways that we can promote their stuff. So anyway, lots of ideas, and I really just want to get it to the point where it just clicks along. But I've got to get the right people in the right seats to click it along, and that really hasn't been happening for me yet. So anyway, should be kind of interesting to see where it all goes from here. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. But yeah, the big things today are just sending out some of these sponsorship emails. I'm trying a new system called Pipedrive. So I've been using Zoho CRM. 2 issues that I have there. One is that it doesn't integrate with my email. So if they, if they email me back, the follow-up step is still in there as a task, even though it doesn't need to be there anymore. The second issue is that if I want to set routine follow-up, I tell it, okay, follow up every week, and I have to tell it for how long, and then it creates all of those follow-up tasks at once. Well, I don't want to do a follow-up task, every week. I want to do a follow-up task until they schedule a sales call. So anyway, these are kind of deal killers for me here. We'll see how it all goes. But yeah, I don't want it to be that complicated. And so that's why I'm kind of tempted to do my own thing. And then with Angular Dev Summit wrapping up, I'm going to email the Angular people about a webinar I'm doing next week with JD Trask from Raygun. And then I am also going to probably pull together, and I've gotten some feedback from some people who are really excited about it. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do like an app a month for a year with Angular and see where that goes. And then I'm thinking about doing the same thing for Rails and seeing how that goes. So essentially then you get 1 year's worth of apps written with Rails or Angular or both, right? So I can have some crossover, right? As far as, hey, this is going to go in both series, but the focus for the Angular series is going to be more on Angular, right? And so it's going to be, here's kind of the minimum you have to know about Rails to make this work. And then, the flip side for Rails, okay, here, we're setting up Webpacker and we're doing all this stuff to make it work, and so anyway, kind of playing with that, doing the Kickstarters finally for React and Elixir. But I've got all this stuff, and the problem is that I'm trying to plan a few months out, and the issue that I have is that I front load it. And so I get overwhelmed then on the first 2 weeks because I've got way too much in there. And so I'm trying to back that off and figure it out. And what I'm basically doing at this point is prioritizing. So the priorities right now are podcast production and sponsorship, because that's what pays the bills. And then Ruby Dev Summit, because it's coming up. And then there's probably going to be some work or some prioritization around React Remote Conf, but I'm probably just going to kick it down the road, start scheduling some of the stuff that I have to do for it now, like reaching out to speakers, and then we'll go from there. But anyway, the plan is the big thing. So that's what I'm working on these days. I will probably be on at 5 a.m. tomorrow, but I just, today I just forgot to jump on. So if you've been watching these, great. I'm trying to decide if there's like some format for this, because I just kind of ramble every morning. But anyway, we'll see how that goes. Because I may just talk about some of the things I'm learning and then how I'm applying it. And so then so today I would talk about planning, and then tomorrow I would talk about the other stuff. Anyway, if you have any thoughts, feedback, whatever, just email me, chuck@devchat.tv. I appreciate it. And I'll catch you tomorrow.